Hello, and thanks for joining into the Snelling Forging the Future podcast. We're talking with Blake Sanborn over here from Great Lakes Laser Supply. Blake is the owner. Blake, thanks so much for joining us today.
Yeah, no problem. How are you doing?
I'm living the dream. I'm
Good.
doing well. Thanks for joining. Well, Blake, do you want to start off by just giving us a little rundown of what Great Lakes Laser Supply is, where y'all have been located, and how long you've been in business?
Yeah, I can definitely go over that. So, my name is Blake Sanborn. I'm with Great Lakes Laser Supply. Our journey was kind of unique. It was go back about 5 years, and my wife had wanted to get a laser to make wooden earrings, and I'm like, a laser for earrings? This just sounds kind of crazy for me. So I got into it. I started researching and trying to figure out what would be the best investment for us. And I ended up on a laser and buying it straight from the manufacturer, so that my wife could make these wooden earrings. And we got this laser, we started learning the software and we got into it. And my wife just crushed it making these wooden earrings so that she could sell them at craft shows. She was selling earrings to boutiques and local businesses by the hundreds of pairs. So she paid that laser off in just about 2 months, which was pretty incredible because, they can be a pretty significant cost up front.
I can only imagine.
Yeah. So I noticed this gap in the market at these craft shows where, these women are dragging their husbands around and there's nothing for them to check out at these craft shows. So I'm like, we need to expand what we offer a little bit beyond those earrings and ornaments and things like that. So we started carrying wallets and belts and all sorts of kind of guy stuff, some people might say. And we were massively successful. To get more efficient, we added some more lasers that did the metal things more efficiently. And then we pivoted a little bit because my passion is kind of helping and developing people. That's
Yes.
what caused me to be successful in my career. And we can get into some more of those details, but
Right.
helping people is really my passion. So that kind of birthed Great Lakes Laser Supply. So we took those same items that we were selling and we started buying them in much larger quantities so that we could sell them to other people with laser businesses. And then I could bring in my passion of helping people to help them to be successful in their laser businesses.
Well, that's terrific, and I understand y'all are still a team of two right now, right? Just the two of you. That been the case throughout your entire history?
For Great Lakes Laser Supply, yeah, just the two of us. I've got 4 kids. Our first laser engraving business is called Outnumbered 5-1 because I've got all daughters. And yeah, so it's just my wife and I, and then some of the kids are helping, but we are at kind of a pivotal stage where we need to make some key hiring decisions to where we can add some people so that we can now grow our business to the next step.
That's got to be pretty exciting being on the precipice of growing your team and thinking about what kind of personalities, what kind of culture you want to cultivate. Well, I understand you've led teams up before in restaurants and automotive and now your own business. How do you think those past leadership roles shape how you run Great Lakes Laser Supply now and how you're going to run it as you start to hire?
Yeah. So, most people don't see the link between like restaurants or even then kind of pivoting into automotive quality and
Sure.
now into kind of production work that we're kind of doing with our laser business. But early on, I learned in restaurants that by investing in people and making sure I take care of the people that worked for me, that allowed me to be successful in what I was doing running a restaurant. And then the same thing in automotive quality, kind of investing and training those people, developing them internally, kind of getting them on board for what I needed to do and what the goals were for the companies that I worked for, kind of helped me to be successful and helped the company to be successful. So now kind of looking to bring those same skills and investing in those people on board as we kind of grow our company here with Great Lakes.
Absolutely. I'm just curious, did that investment in employees and that attitude, did that come about naturally for you, or did you have bosses growing up and getting started in your career that helped you to cultivate that mentality?
Yeah, I definitely had some great mentors in my career over the years that kind of took that same initiative in me. The first time I
Right.
was a general manager, I was only 20 years old. And then for Joe's Crab Shack, well, I was a GM for them in Houston. And same thing, I was in my 20s, was a GM for them. And I would have an orientation for people and I would be explaining my goals and the company's goals right there in orientations. I was a GM at several locations and regardless of the volume, I would bring employees on and we would be very successful implementing company strategies because I explained those goals right from the get-go. People would come and tour my restaurant and they would just see the level of expectations and things that we wanted to accomplish. And so we would do very well, regardless of the volume of the restaurant that I was in.
Right.
We did very well because I just explained those expectations right off the bat.
Yeah. Yeah, that seems like a great way to go about it. Well, Blake, I got to ask, did you get all seafooded out? Are you tired of seafood nowadays, or do you still go back for Joe's Crab Shack when you get the chance?
I go back to Joe's Crab Shack whenever I can. It was weird. In all the restaurants I've worked for, seafood never got old.
Yeah,
Crabs, lobster, shrimp. You would think that that would get old like everything else, but no, it never got old. I could eat seafood every day.
me too. At least right now, I live in Colorado. We're not exactly known for seafood, so I don't have it all the time.
Yeah.
And so when I go back to Texas, we go to Galveston, we got oysters and all those things.
Hmm.
I love me some seafood. I worked in a chicken place for a little while, and there was a time in my life where I just could not have chicken very often because I was just cutting chicken tenders all the time. It was a little too much, but no, that makes sense. Okay, well, you already talked a little bit about this, but you started this company after spotting a gap in the laser products market. What problems were you trying to solve, and how has that business evolved over the last 5 years?
Yeah, so I didn't start Great Lakes Laser Supply to sell blanks or to sell materials. I started because I saw thousands of makers in the same kind of like labor trap, um, and kind of getting burned out. Molly making those wooden earrings, they're very labor intensive. So she would be hand painting, assembly, and all these things with the wooden earrings and ornaments, but she was getting burned out. Doing these blanks, it's much more efficient. Preparing for a craft show as we pivoted to the guy stuff, it would take me 45 minutes and I could prep 100 wallets ready for the craft show to sell, not to
Really?
mention the difference in the margins, on some of those things.
That totally makes sense. So it's just you and your wife right now, but getting close to hiring your first employees. What's driving that next growth phase?
We've done a good job of kind of just laying the foundation for the company, um, having our website in place, and now we have advertising, and we have a social media person, helping us to put out consistent information and about our company and helping to make the ads, which has been tremendous. We're at kind of at that pivotal point where having some people on board to do some of those basic tasks, packing orders. Right now, between my Molly and myself, we're spending 5 hours or so a day packing orders, getting those shipped out, where having someone in place that could do some of those tasks like that, it would free us up to focus on continuing to grow the company, doing things like this.
Yeah.
That's kind of the goal there.
Oh my gosh, 5 hours a day doing packaging. I can only imagine how exciting it must feel to be about to bring somebody in who's going
Yeah.
to start handling that. I mean, that's going to be really great. It sounds like with you as a leader too, this will be a great opportunity for someone. And you've always been passionate about training and developing people, as you said. How do you plan to bring that same people first mindset into your own company? I mean, like, are there any specific areas that you've been looking around and thinking that's an opportunity to bring this people first mindset?
Yeah, I'm kind of at a point where I've got to decide, do I want to bring someone on that can simply pack orders? Or do I almost want to think a little bit higher level and I bring somebody on who can almost manage the person who's packing the orders? And that's kind of where I'm leading in the interview process, talking to people. I'm going to bring somebody on probably that's a little higher level.
Yes.
I think my normal strategy would be bring somebody on to pack orders and develop them into kind of learning and taking on more. But I think in this specific case, I may get more value for me personally and free me up more to grow more in the business by bringing somebody on that can manage. They may start off packing those orders, but they're ultimately going to be a person above that. That would be, almost a manager, that could then, as we grow, they would just manage that person packing the orders, and they would be able to do more than just that. Logistics, ordering supplies from our suppliers and things like that.
Okay, awesome. Do you find it difficult to find candidates who want to take on responsibility and grow?
Yeah, I mean it's I've been interviewing, now for 20 plus years, interviewing people as I'm sure you do regularly. And I feel like I've gotten pretty good at it over the years, talking to people, getting to know them. I am where I am in my career because of those people starting off in an entry level position and giving them opportunity. With Joe's Crab Shack in a short period of time, I was at, 7 different restaurants, and I had to go in there and I had to interview the existing staff and develop those people into other roles as quickly as possible. Sometimes there was only a 6-month gap where I would go to the next restaurant as a manager. So I had to be able to identify those leaders or people with the different, with those skills that could do other things. My boss would call me, "Hey, Blake, I need you to go at this location next week." It was an easy progression of identifying those people. I had a hostess who wanted to be a front of the house manager. I had a front of the
Right.
house manager who wanted to be the kitchen manager, or somebody that wanted to be the general manager. So I just had to kind of interview those people, identify their skill sets, and fill in some of those gaps so that they could progress as I progressed and then went somewhere else.
That's terrific, and yeah, seeing that potential in candidates, that's what makes a good organization. That's what makes someone want to stay somewhere long term. But I've heard from other clients that kind of candidate is kind of dwindling. Do you think that that's the case? And if so, like, is there anything you've noticed that has changed in today's workforce?
It has changed a lot. When I think back in the beginning, I felt like it was easy at the time. I would go into a restaurant, I would meet these people, and it was just like these people would just kind of click into place for me. That person's going to be great here. This person's going to be great here. I do feel like those people are a little bit fewer and far between that want more responsibility, because there always wasn't that instant gratification, or the pay may not come right along with taking on more responsibility. And I think previously, 10, 15 years ago, people were okay with, "Hey, I want to see how do you handle making a schedule, or how you handle doing inventory or things like that." And they would grow, they would take that responsibility, and then I could kind of give them, a pay increase or a position change. But I feel like more and more now, people want that pay or position change before learning some of those additional skills.
Sure.
So yeah, it has changed, and I think it's a little bit harder now, but those people are still out there that want more. They're a little more ambitious, and they want to continue and grow with the company.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it can be a tough system on both sides. Sometimes it feels like there's a tension, like a Wild West shootout where both parties are just waiting for the other to act. And I would encourage candidates and clients to both be looking for those opportunities like what you're describing, looking for, as a candidate, for opportunities to grow, to take on more responsibility so that that pay can come in. And then for clients to encourage candidates in that same way, to be people centered, and for companies to look for the candidates who are going to look after that responsibility. It's a two-way street and it can be tough, but what you're saying makes a lot of sense, and it's definitely something to encourage.
Yeah.
Well, okay. I'm curious. I'm going back here a little bit. What hiring lessons from the restaurant industries have carried over well, and what's been different as a small business owner?
I'm a big fan of in-person interviews, but also I've had to adapt over time to doing some virtually, over Zoom or things like that.
Makes
So,
sense.
I've done some of those talking to people, and I think, that's definitely adapted well into what I'm doing now with Great Lakes, taking those skills of interviewing, asking those questions. I think I actually enjoy teaching people how to interview as well, and asking some of those questions where I'm not really asking. Sometimes I may ask something like, "Who's the best boss that you ever had?" I'm not really interested in that specific information, but why that person was the best boss they've ever had. And I think doing that virtually, I'm still able to use some of those techniques that I've done in the past, and figure out if that person's going to be a good candidate for me and my business.
Yeah, absolutely. I love asking questions like that. And I think that that's a perfect one. Questions that you might not expect in an interview can, yes, throw people off for a second, but a lot of times what I find is that it alleviates some pressure and people relax a little bit and giggle at a unique question and then answer it, and then they feel a little more comfortable in the interview process going forward.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Well, as you scale Great Lakes Laser Supply, what kind of people do you ultimately want to build with the company with? Obviously, folks who are looking to take on responsibility. Are there any other factors that you consider?
I think that's definitely a big one. People that want to take on more responsibility, they want to grow with the company. I think
Yeah.
coming on board with the company at the stage that we're at right now, the possibilities are endless. Their potential in the future, it could be just about anything. We are in a growth state, and where we are, somebody could start out as an order packer And maybe they're going to end up being a manager of a specific area of the business, or learning how to run a laser, or how to do some social media content.
Yeah.
To learn and grow are definitely what I'm looking for in the process here. There's so many things people sometimes think about, well, what do you really do, Great Lakes Laser Supply? It's really more than just ordering supplies and selling those supplies. What I do on
Sure.
a day to day is kind of unreal. I'm a social media manager. I'm packing orders. I'm dealing with customers. I'm, communicating with customers, or even marketing emails, marketing strategies. So I'd love to find somebody that is ambitious, that wants to learn more. And I think finding that person and then seeing what their skills are, I can kind of help, identify where they might be able to go to in the company.
Absolutely. That's awesome. I really do love your mentality. And I just have one more question. Do you have any advice for managers or owners in this market? I know that can be kind of a broad question, but I think a lot of managers are struggling on the hiring side and struggling to find people who they really feel can meet all their expectations and needs. Is there anything you would advise of them?
Advice for managers. I think taking your time and getting to know people, sometimes giving them an opportunity to talk, you may form a first impression, but I think really getting to know them and allow them to speak to some of the things that they're passionate about. If I in my career hadn't listened to people about what they had to say, what they're passionate about, what their skills may be, I would have never known that this hostess or this bartender that had been in that position for 5, 6 years, I would have never known that they could be potential for a manager or a kitchen manager or even a general manager.
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds like you'd be a great boss to work for. I'll be totally honest. Like you would have a lot of a great mindset for with people that you would have an interest in seeing people grow. I think your mentality is really awesome. Well, Blake, looking towards bringing this conversation to a close here. I so appreciate you joining today. If there was anything else you wanted to share, or any social medias you wanted to plug, or any websites that people can visit to learn more about Great Lakes Laser Supply, you could go ahead.
Yeah, we are pretty much the same on all social media platforms. It's just Great Lakes Laser Supply. We have our website, and a big thing that I'm really passionate about is our Facebook group, which is also Great Lakes Laser Supply. We have a group of about 5,500 people in there, not to mention all the other social media. But like I said, my passion isn't just to sell somebody a blank or a laser blank. I want to get your hands on some of our blanks and teach you how to be successful in your business. And there's plenty of people in there that don't even buy our blanks that I try to offer our support and help to, so that they can grow in their business. So whether you're looking to, add a side hustle, if you want to start a laser engraving business in some capacity, join our Facebook group, and we can get some blanks in your hands. And there's some real money to be made on the side that can help you. Sometimes somebody today that I was talking with, they have a large expense of personalized items that they sell for their business, and they invested in a laser to make all their blanks, into their marketing items themselves, which is pretty cool. So if that's something you're looking to do, check us out, greatlakeslasersupply.com, and you can kind of get to all the different places there.
Well, Blake, I so appreciate you taking the time to talk with me today, and I hope people will be on the lookout to use y'all as a service. And then also, it sounds like you'll be hiring here soon, so
Yeah.
keep an eye out for y'all. Will definitely behoove some candidates as well. Blake, I appreciate you joining. If there's anything else you wanted to say, you're welcome to. But otherwise, we could bring this conversation to a close.
No, I'm all set. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Blake. Talk to you soon.
Bye.